JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is probably one of the most influential animes of all time, at least when it comes to internet culture. It's taken the internet by storm, and in recent years, the fanbase has skyrocketed, to the point where you can find a reference to this show almost anywhere you go on the internet. And the fanbase is only getting bigger from here. With the recent release of the 5th part of the show, the fanbase grew exponentially, and with 3 more installments still not animated, it can only go up from here. But even with the show being as popular as it is, all of a sudden, something changed. Now, it seems to be more of a crime than anything to be a JoJo fan. And if you affiliate with the show in any sort of way, you get tons of backlash and hate. But what caused the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure community to be portrayed in such a bad light all of a sudden? And at this point, is it possible to change the outlook it receives online to something more positive? And does the community really deserve this bad reputation it gets online? In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the different parts of the community. We're going to learn about their history, as well as their impact online. You're also going to hear from several members of the community, and hear what they think of the current state of the fanbase. And finally, we're going to try to find the answer to the downfall of the JoJo fanbase. Since these first 3 parts are relatively smaller than the rest of them, I just squashed them all together into a segment I like to consider the fan-made side of the community. First up, we got the JoJo Wiki, which is a fan-made Wikipedia site with quite a few active users and a pretty tightly woven community. A little brief history on it. It was created on January 9th of 2008 by a user named Bad Seafood, and to be honest, he really didn't do much. He only had 39 edits on the entire site. Soon after, admin rights were transferred to a user named Bohemian King, who developed and managed the site for a few years after. Then Metallic Kaiser took over in 2012, and then appointed Vish to become a second admin in 2016. They both redesigned the site and polished it further. And when the fandom company was going downhill, they moved to the JoJoWiki.com in 2019, although the other site is actually still active. I was able to get in contact with 3 different members of the staff. First of all, we got Dr. Jonathan, who's an admin on the old site, Morgan Stedman MS, an admin on the old site as well as a mod on the new one, and Vish, who once again was one of the original admins. Now, in terms of the entire community, I didn't get much from these guys, but Dr. Jonathan did mention how he's noticed a difference in the community recently, at least on the forums.
The wiki used to be a lot about discussing JoJo. Like when I joined, especially who would win posts, like where you take the concept of 2 stands and discuss who would win the fight. I would say definitely on the wiki is that is derived from that to more just I guess the wiki has been more community orientated, and more of the posts are about the community rather than the JoJo itself, or discussing JoJo.
Morgan Stedman also commented what he thinks about the community as a whole. Quote, "In my opinion, the newer changes to the community have been extremely positive. Before the anime, the fanbase used to be really non-inclusive towards newer fans. But now, I think fans are a lot more accepting. Saying all that, I think the fanbase has got its fair share of bad reputation. But I don't think that has detracted from my enjoyment of the series." Next up, we have the fanfiction part of the community. Now, you can find fanfiction for JoJo on quite a few different sites, but I looked into one Discord server in particular, the JoJo Fanworks server, created by Bdong and Dopey.
JoJo's Bizarre Fanworks, we created it, I believe, last year, kind of late last year. It was a joint project initially between Iron Curtain and Fading Lights. We want to get new admins from other parts soon. However, like right now, as it is, we've already branched out quite a bit and we have a few really good parts to showcase in our server.
When I asked Bdong what he thought changed the community, he gave me a pretty interesting response.
I think it began to change when the influx of viewers kind of came in, and it certainly changed culturally, where like a lot of anime fans get a very bad rep in terms of how they carry themselves in public, just being highly obnoxious. And I feel like that's something that's very exclusive to the anime community, where it's just over the top and very annoying at times. But I think the JoJo community has definitely grown there, and it's become more mainstream popular. Kind of learn, hey, this is actually turning people off from our community and giving ourselves a bad name, even just subconsciously.
Now, this is an interesting point. I think what he's talking about is something on the lines of this video, where 3 fans dressed as JoJo characters walk into a Walmart and try to make as many references to the show as they can. This video can definitely be considered cringy, and might just make a couple people dislike the show. And finally, we have the fan art side of the community. Now, once again, you can find fan art on several different platforms, but I chose to look into Twitter in particular. I'll be honest though, I didn't dive too deep into the Twitter community, but I definitely did scratch the surface of it. I was able to get in contact with one Twitter artist by the name of Sam, who has about 5,000 followers at the time of this recording. Sam is a newer member to the community and joined back in 2019. Now, Sam definitely wasn't hesitant to talk about the constant drama that occurs in this community.
So this is just my personal experience, right? So maybe like October to January, February, it was like pretty chill. There wasn't much drama I could think of. But at some point, I remember something completely set everything off. Someone made a post on Tumblr attacking really big artists, right, in the community. That was when shit hit the fan, I swear to God. And it's going on until today, but there's like a lot of drama over like harassment and death threats being sent to artists. It's really messy.
If you've ever used Twitter at all, this might not come as much of a surprise to you. I can't confirm that this happens on other platforms with the art community, but there's definitely a pretty big chance that it does. All in all though, the fan-made portion of the community seems to mostly stick to themselves, and don't really interact with people outside the community. So, on to the next part. Discord is a very big part of the JoJo community. Almost every YouTuber has their own dedicated server, as well as ones for different parts of the community. But the one I looked at was JoJo's Bizarre Discord server, the largest server in the entire community, with about 30,000 members at the time of this recording. It was created on April 13th of 2017 by Carco11, who I actually was able to get a chance to talk to.
So when I joined, it was decently small. I decided I did not like the Discord that was currently around, so I made my own. We had a different set of rules that was a little more strict, but I prefer that, and people did as well, apparently, because they joined this one more. And it stayed like a small, close-knit community for a long time, until Part 5 was announced. Then we saw that big blast, you know?
Being a prominent member of the community, he had some interesting stuff to say. I first asked him about the change of the community, and he thought it was pretty much destined to happen.
I think that fandoms on the internet that get big tend to get people hating on them, and the hate becomes its own kind of fandom of its own. It becomes its own mindset, and I personally don't think that any of the big hated fandoms on the internet were ever that bad, except maybe Homestuck. I don't think they're ever as bad as people make them out to be.
This can definitely be said for quite a few fandoms that have gone somewhat mainstream, such as the Undertale and Sonic community. Anything that gets that much traction has to get people opposing it. He also mentioned the younger portion of the fanbase might be a noteworthy cause. The people attacking them are also to blame.
I'm going to be honest, I think it's like mid-teenagers, like 15 or 16, who just really don't like seeing people talk about the same thing over and over and over again. And I think that kind of like just taints the water a bit. I might be wrong and completely on my assessment, but that's kind of what I've seen. I think that like people who like are preventing people from enjoying something and like making fun of them are like worse than the people who are just like trying to enjoy it. And I think that anything that gets any level of notoriety is going to have that opposition. I think JoJo for a long time was sitting right below that line, and just with like in the last year or so went above it.
I'm going to expand on this point a little bit later in the video, but a survey from 2018 showed the average age for a JoJo fan was about 24 years old, so the show is definitely popular among a young demographic. If this is the case, then a portion could be the type of people Carco is talking about. But even though there's a so-called annoying side to the fanbase, Carco still believes that the more the merrier.
I personally am of the mindset that the more people who are enjoying the series, the better. I really want people to enjoy the series that I love. I know that there are a lot of people that were from like when I joined who are very purist about it and like want it to stay, niche and the level that it was at when they joined. But I personally am not. I don't really agree with that. I'm a very anti-gatekeeping in fandom kind of person. Teenagers, they're annoying. That's what they do. But if they're enjoying the series in their own way on the internet, I don't want to go like yelling at them for enjoying a series the way they are, Sometimes it's shouting "Ora, Ora, Ora" on internet forums or in YouTube comments. I'd say it's better just because there's more people. And I think the more the merrier.
If you watch a decent amount of YouTube, you've probably come across someone referencing JoJo. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is very prevalent on YouTube. You can find anything from short videos or memes to entire channels dedicated to the show. A little brief history on it: the first JoJo related video was posted on March 8th of 2006 and was just a video game clip. There wasn't really much of a community until around 2016. The first person I was able to find to make somewhat regular JoJo themed content was Hammond Beat. But some other founding YouTubers were also Caleb IA and Xfords. Now, I tried to get interviews with all three of these people, but Hammond Beat said he wasn't interested, and Caleb IA and Xfords didn't even respond in the first place. So instead, I talked to their mods. I first talked to Abak, who's a mod for both Xfords and Caleb IA, and Weather, who's a mod for Xfords. I also talked to two smaller YouTubers by the names of Schroeder and Jolin Meme. So once again, before this whole community came to be, anything related to JoJo was pretty much just memes.
Before the whole JoJo analysis community, there were just a lot of just meme YouTubers. They post short clips of the show, those kinds of channels.
The references are everywhere, even in music videos sometimes.
So at least on YouTube, the fanbase was pretty much built on memes, which is why there's such a prevalent part of the community today. Abak also mentioned that he thinks the fanbase has always kind of had that bad reputation.
Prior to the release of Part 5, the community still had that reputation somewhat because, you'll go to some songs, like the comment section of some songs on YouTube, and you'll just see like the fans that will just be there making references. I know some people have gotten annoyed by that.
Schroeder also commented on the JoJo reference meme.
I think the downfall of the JoJo fanbase was the start of the "is that a JoJo reference" trend, where you go to things that are completely unrelated to JoJo that a stranger posted, and then you go, "Oh shit, is that a JoJo reference?" Because you think you're hilarious. And it's these people who like post reaction gifs of like Okuyasu crying to a post that has nothing to do with anime. I think it's the whole like gifable moment of JoJo that you like reply to everything with that makes everybody go, "Wow, these JoJo fans don't know how to shut the fuck up."
Apparently, the meme portion of the community has even gotten on the nerves of another side of the fanbase. About a year ago, a YouTuber by the name of Shuckmeister made a video called Araki Forgot, which was basically bringing to light a whole bunch of plot holes in the show.
People in the analytical community, they did not take too kindly to that. That's pretty much when the whole Araki Forgot thingy kind of like started taking up speed. And then instead of addressing people's like legitimate points, Chuckmeister made another one, and then I think after that, Hammond Beat started his series on debunking the whole Forgot situation. The whole thing with the spread of misinformation, some people from the analytical community will try and say, "Hey, that's not right," but then the meme community will be like, "Oh, well, it's just a joke, bro." But then, it will still spread this kind of misinformation. Like, that was a fiasco for a good 6 months.
Fish also had something to say about this. Quote, "There are people who say things like Araki Forgot and mentioning some plot holes that are actually answered in the story or weren't meant to be expanded on, like how some people assume Josuke's savior was Josuke who time traveled. I also think people should stop spamming JoJo references on music videos or unrelated topics because it makes people annoyed of the series in general. Overall, there's a lot of mixed feelings about the community on YouTube. Weather on one hand thinks it's somewhat better.
In some ways it's worse, in some ways it's better. Like, I feel like the meminess of it has been toned down a lot, which can be very grating to people, especially people who have been in the community a long time. They've heard all the jokes. It just hearing the same things repeated over and over and over again. That has toned down a little bit more.
And although Schroeder reminisces of the old community, he still wants to see where it goes.
It was definitely a lot more chill back in the day. I think nowadays it's very active. A lot more people are actively involved, like trying to do something with JoJo as a fan base. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think, yes, that can encourage some of the more toxic fan behavior, but it's incredible because we have so many people who universally love the show and they're trying to do something unique with it and make it special and elevate what it is. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And I mean, everybody yearns to go back to the day where it was chill and we all just kind of enjoyed it. And it was that and that alone. But honestly, I wouldn't want to go back because I'm very happy with where the fan base is now. And I'm curious to see where it goes because Lord knows we're going to kill ourselves. We're going to destroy ourselves from the inside.
You know I had to save the best for last. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is also very prevalent on Reddit, and is arguably the largest part of the community. A little brief history on it, the first JoJo subreddit went by the name of Stardust Crusaders, and was created on March 3rd of 2012. Another big JoJo subreddit is r/shitpost Crusaders, which was created a few years later, on June 27th of 2016. And although Shitpost Crusaders was created 4 years later, it was able to overcome Stardust Crusaders around Part 5's release. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get in contact with anybody from Stardust Crusaders, but I did talk to 2 members from Shitpost Crusaders. First of all, we got Mr. Hipster, who's one of the older mods on the server, and actually the one who created it, and also Rohan Doge, who's also one of the oldest moderators on the subreddit. Now, since I wasn't able to get in contact with Stardust Crusaders, I wanted to know Shitpost's relationship with it. And the answer to that is, there isn't one.
There really is no relationship, to be honest. We don't really talk to them. Yeah, not at all. I just kind of like made this for fun. One of the problems was like Stardust Crusaders is that like they put all their memes in like that weekly Dojon thread, and like JoJo's a very like meme-oriented show to the point where I think you should have let memes like be 24/7 or you run out of shit to talk about. No one wants to talk about the plot line, dude. There's so many plot holes in this shit. No one wants to talk about it. They just want memes. But yeah, there's like no bad blood between us and Stardust Crusaders because we don't fucking talk to them. Like we're just 2 separate entities.
For a really long time, they ignore us, the meme subreddit, because we were smaller than them. They were like at 80k, we were like 8k, and they never mentioned us in the sidebars, like on the right side of the page. And they always ignore us. That's really funny because like we are now like 8 times the size.
Now, these 2 both mentioned a discrepancy between the old and the new fans, and how that could be the cause of the community's reputation.
Since there's like a lot of new people in the community recently with the Part 5 anime, they discover a lot of old jokes, like the Konodioda one. Yes, and since they discovered it for the first time, it's like, wow, hilarious, amazing. I'm gonna share it. But they don't know that the other people in the anime community has been hearing them for 10 years and they're like just tired of it.
JoJo's fan base is like really young for some reason. It's like really popular with like kids in like high school and stuff like that. So I assume when they get older, they'll like realize like they can't be yelling about JoJo and get better interests. Cause you know, that's how I was with Naruto when I was like 14. So I can't put any blame on them. I was a dumb brain 15-year-old.
Mr. Hipster also mentioned a toxic portion of the fan base being the cause of JoJo's reputation, and how you can find one in almost any community.
Like with any fan base, you have like the really loud and like toxic people, and just JoJo is just like really rampant on the internet. Like JoJo is such like an internet culture thing. Like it's just such a big internet meme in general that like the loudest people are like in the comment sections on things that like are not JoJo related, talking about JoJo. JoJo is like when an anime, when you first get into it, you like just can't shut up about it for some reason, and then those people are the loudest, and that's what people think of us as instead of just like chill people. Most of us are chill, dude. There's just like this small like handful of like, albeit I'll say they're probably like 15-year-old or like man children that like get really upset about JoJo and stuff like that. But most of us are just cool, man. I just want to watch people with like ghosts fight each other, man. That's all I want.
And when I asked Rohan what he thinks of the community today, he says he prefers the older community, primarily because it was smaller.
Now it's really big, So it's hard to have like regulars, you know? We have some, yeah, like there's like 10 people you can recognize because they have really different posts. They are, you can differentiate from the others. We know each other really close. We're like, oh yeah, that's a friend or something. So now it's really hard to single yourself out in this community, just something meshed out, some more public, you know, it's like much more people. I think in general, the vibe here is really fun. We try to keep really the fun ambience here, so I think it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a community, not sure. You cannot create relation with people here now in this page at the moment, in this subreddit, unless you're like really active. You're like, oh, I comment like every post, people recognize you all the time, or you make really special posts. But if you're looking for your dose of JoJo memes, then yes, it's better. But personally, I prefer when it's a bit smaller and you can know people each other personally. But in the end, it's better for JoJo in general to have like a big fan base. So I'm kind of happy with the growth. But personally, I prefer when it's a small community.
After talking to 12 different members of the community, I've come to realize that the community really isn't that bad at all. There are tons of super cool people in the community who really just want to enjoy the show with other like-minded people. There's just this handful of fans who take it too far and make the entire fanbase look bad in the process. Pretty much what I'm getting at here is, don't judge a book by its cover. Even though there might be a small vocal minority that degrades the fanbase, there's definitely more to it than meets the eye. I want to know what you guys think. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below, and maybe we can get a good discussion going on it. Now, I'd like to give a big thanks to all 12 of the interviewees. Literally, this video would be nothing without you. Their social medias and such are all in the description. I also need to thank my friends who helped me with transcribing and editing the hours of interview footage I had. And most of all, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider sticking around. I'm definitely going to be making more of these in the near future, and more of the little shit posts I've been uploading from time to time. And with that being said, that's it from me. Bye bye.